Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive and a huge shout out to all you F1 fans joining us from the F1 Blog's YouTube channel. We're diving headfirst into Friday's practice sessions at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, this being the final race of the season, well, there's still a whole lot to be decided.
Oh, absolutely. We've got a real nail-biter of a Constructors' Championship battle on our hands. Plus, we've got grid penalties looming and some big names struggling to find their rhythm. It's going to be an intense weekend, that's for sure.
So let's break it all down for you. First up, we've got this epic showdown between McLaren and Ferrari for the Constructors' title. And this is more than just your average rivalry. These two teams have serious history. I mean, McLaren hasn't won a championship since 1998.
Wow. Yeah.
And Ferrari's last victory was back in 2008. Can you imagine the pressure they're under?
It's got to be immense. They've both been trading wins and podiums all season long, making this a proper clash of the Titans. McLaren's clinging to a 21-point lead as it stands, but with 44 points still up for grabs, Ferrari is far from out of it.
But Friday's practice sessions threw a major curveball for Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, he had a pretty significant battery issue in FP1. The team had to replace it, and that automatically triggers a 10-place grid penalty for the race.
Oof, that's a tough break.
Yeah, so even if he somehow manages to snag pole position in qualifying, he'll be starting the race no higher than 11th.
You have to wonder what that means for Ferrari's championship hopes. Overtaking on a track like Yas Marina, it can be a real challenge. This penalty puts Leclerc at a serious disadvantage.
And as if that wasn't enough pressure already, this is also Carlos Sainz's last race with Ferrari. He's moving on next season, so he wants to finish his time with the team on a high note. But with Leclerc's penalty, the weight of their championship hopes is pretty much falling squarely on his shoulders.
Yeah, no doubt. He's got to be feeling the heat.
Can he deliver under this kind of pressure? What do you think?
Well, McLaren certainly didn't do Ferrari any favors today. They came out firing in FP2, finishing with a dominant 1-2. Landonorris led the way.
Wow. Talk about a statement. But hold on a second. McLaren's had a bit of a tendency to make some crucial errors this season. Remember what happened in Qatar?
Oh, yeah.
A costly mistake that cost them valuable points. Could those past mistakes come back to haunt them with a championship on the line this weekend?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? This is Formula One. Even the smallest slip-up can have huge consequences. Complacency can be a team's downfall, and you can bet Ferrari will be ready to pounce on any mistakes McLaren makes.
You're absolutely right. It's far from over. Every single point is going to matter. And speaking of drivers feeling the pressure, Fernando Alonso did not have a happy Friday, to say the least.
No, he didn't.
He had a, let's just call it a colorful radio outburst during FP1. He said, and I quote, "The worst car ever. Worst preparation lap." It seems like he's not exactly thrilled with his AstonMartin right now.
Oh, no kidding. You can understand his frustration, though, right? I mean, he ended up finishing 16th in FP2.
Yes.
But here's the thing. The midfield is incredibly tight this weekend. We're talking less than 0.2 of a second separating 10th to 18th place.
Whoa, so close.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So anyone's game in that midfield battle then. It just goes to show how insanely competitive this field is, right? Even the tiniest margins can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. But, beyond the championship fight and driver frustrations, Friday's practice sessions had some other really intriguing moments that I think are worth diving into.
Oh, for sure. For starters, we saw something you don't see every day in Formula One. We saw brothers Charles and Arthur Leclerc, both driving for Ferrari in FP1. Arthur, who usually races in the European Le Mans Series, he took over Sainz's car for the session. A real family affair.
It was definitely a unique sight to see in the F1 paddock. And then there's the ongoing tension between Max Verstappen and George Russell. Remember their heated exchange earlier this week? Well, it seems like this rivalry is far from over, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see sparks fly on track this weekend.
Things could definitely get spicy out there. And let's not forget about all the rookie drivers who got a chance to showcase their skills in FP1. We saw names like Jack Doohan in the Alpine, Isaac Hadjar in the Red Bull, and a bunch more. Some of these drivers could be giving us a glimpse of what the 2025 grid will look like, wouldn't you say?
I think so. It's always exciting to see new talent emerge. Although Jack Doohan, despite being confirmed as Alpine's driver for 2025, he had a bit of a rough debut. He finished 19th, nearly 2 seconds off the pace.
Oh, wow.
A tough start for him, but hey, hopefully a valuable learning experience nonetheless.
No doubt. Now, before we move on to what's shaping up to be an absolutely crucial qualifying session tomorrow, we should talk about just how important starting position is at Yas Marina. Overtaking here, it's notoriously difficult. The race winner has started from the front row in 14 out of the 15 races held here.
And get this, the last 9 winners all started from pole position.
Wow, that's impressive.
That statistic alone tells you just how much is riding on qualifying on Saturday. It could very well determine who's hoisting that championship trophy on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a high-stakes game of chess out there right now. Every team is trying to anticipate their rivals' every move. And, we were talking about those rookie drivers in FP1. I think it's really interesting to see how their performance stacks up against the seasoned veterans.
For sure. We mentioned Jack Doohan in the Alpine. He didn't exactly have the smoothest debut, finishing down in 19th. But then you've got someone like Felipe Drugovich, Aston Martin's reserve driver, who really impressed. He managed to grab 9th place, even outpacing his teammate, Fernando Alonso.
What's really fascinating about Drugovich's performance is that he hasn't had a regular racing seat for, 2 years. He's been completely focused on his reserve driver duties.
Right.
Yet he jumps into the car and delivers a competitive time straight out of the gate. It just makes you wonder about all the incredible talent waiting in the wings, Absolutely. It definitely adds another layer of intrigue to next season's driver market. But let's get back to those championship contenders. Ferrari's in a tough spot. Leclerc's penalty is a major blow. And Sainz he's got a lot riding on this last race with the team.
The pressure on Sainz is massive, for sure. He even said himself that for Ferrari to have a chance at the championship, they need a near-perfect scenario. A win, both drivers on the podium, and a disastrous weekend for McLaren.
Oh, wow. Talk about a tall order.
Yeah.
But hey, stranger things have happened in Formula One, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you really think they can pull it off? A miracle in Abu Dhabi?
It's definitely an uphill battle, no question. But you can't underestimate Ferrari's fighting spirit. They've been incredibly resilient all season long, and their car seems to be well-suited to Yas Marina.
True. On the other hand, McLaren has all the momentum right now. That 1-2 finish in FP2 was a clear message. They're not going down without a fight, and they have that extra motivation of ending a 26-year championship drought.
It's a classic underdog story. I think a lot of fans are rooting for them to pull it off. But Formula One is, Formula One. Anything can happen. Just when you think you've got it all figured out, the script gets flipped.
You said it. Remember those crazy final laps in Qatar? No one saw that coming. So as we head into this final race, what should we be watching for? What are the key things to keep an eye on?
Well, first and foremost, qualifying is going to be absolutely crucial. We've talked about how important starting position is at Yas Marina. Leclerc will be pushing to the absolute limit to minimize the damage from his penalty, while Sainz will be aiming for nothing less than pole position.
Makes sense. And McLaren, they can't afford to make any mistakes,
Wait.
especially not in qualifying.
Right.
They've shown they have the pace, but consistency has been their Achilles heel all season.
Exactly. A single mistake, a slow pit stop, a misjudged overtaking maneuver, any of those can hand the championship right over to Ferrari.
Yeah.
And then there's that intense midfield battle. It's going to be amazing to watch. With points and pride on the line, drivers like Alonso, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, they're all going to be fighting tooth and nail for every position.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be good. And let's not forget about the 2 drivers who are saying goodbye to their teams this weekend. Sainz, of course, heading to Audi, and Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes for Ferrari. Both of them will want to end these chapters of their careers on a high note.
Absolutely. It adds another layer of emotion and intrigue to the race. This is Sainz's chance to prove his worth one last time, leave a lasting impression before he joins Audi next season.
Right.
And for Hamilton, it's the end of an era at Mercedes. 7 seasons, 6 world championships together, and now he's moving on. You know he's going to be gunning for that elusive 8th world title, a triumphant farewell to the team that helped make him a legend.
Yeah, it's going to be bittersweet for sure, both for Hamilton and for Mercedes fans. You can bet he'll give it everything to end his time with the silver arrows on top. So, with all these storylines converging in Abu Dhabi, what's your gut feeling? Who do you think will emerge victorious in this epic championship battle?
Honestly, it's too close to call. Both McLaren and Ferrari have strong arguments in their favor. McLaren has the points lead and the momentum from those impressive practice sessions, but Ferrari has the raw pace and the sheer determination to overcome Leclerc's penalty.
It really seems like it's going to come down to who executes their strategy perfectly and who avoids making any major errors. This is as much a mental game as it is a physical one.
Absolutely. The pressure is immense, and the smallest mistake could have massive consequences.
It's what makes Formula One so captivating. The tension, the drama, the unpredictability, it's all on the line this weekend, and we're in for a real treat.
Couldn't agree more.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, there are a few more little details from the practice sessions that I think are worth mentioning, things that might have flown under the radar a bit.
Oh, like what?
Well, one thing that stood out to me was Nico Hülkenberg's performance. He secured a very impressive third-place finish in FP2, putting his Haas ahead of both Ferraris. It's a real testament to his talent and the potential of that Haas car, which seems to be working really well at Yas Marina.
Yeah, that's a great point. Hülkenberg has always been a quick driver, but he hasn't always had the machinery to match his skills. It's great to see him shining in a competitive car. And speaking of surprises, this midfield battle is shaping up to be one of the most exciting we've seen all season.
Yeah, it is.
The gap between 10th and 18th place in FP2 was tiny, less than 0.2 of a second separating those drivers. It means we're in for some incredibly close racing and potentially some really unexpected results.
Absolutely. Drivers like Fernando Alonso, who finished 16th but is still within striking distance of the top 10, will be looking to capitalize on any opportunity to gain positions. And let's not forget about the Williams drivers, Alex Albon and rookie Franco Colapinto. They're both facing grid penalties for gearbox changes.
Oh, right. They'll be starting from the back of the grid. But with the midfield so tight, they could still play a role in the race. It just goes to show that even those who aren't in contention for the championship can still have an impact on how things shake out.
For sure. Speaking of impacting the outcome, we can't forget about the ever-present threat of safety cars and red flags. Yas Marina has a history of unexpected incidents, and a safety car period could completely turn the race order upside down.
It's true. That's part of what makes Formula One so exciting, right? It's a sport where literally anything can happen. A single moment of chaos can change the entire course of a race, and with the championship battle this close, any safety car intervention could swing the pendulum in favor of either McLaren or Ferrari.
Exactly. It's that unpredictability that keeps us all on the edge of our seats. And then there's the weather. While the forecast for the weekend is generally dry and sunny, a sudden change in conditions could throw a real wrench into things.
Oh, for sure. Remember how the rain in Brazil transformed the race? A sudden downpour in Abu Dhabi could lead to a similar scenario, with drivers scrambling to adapt. We might even see some unexpected names at the front of the field.
Yeah, it really adds to the drama. It keeps things interesting. So as we look ahead to qualifying and the race, the big finale, what are the key takeaways, the things we should really be keeping in mind?
Well, the main thing is this championship is far from over.
Right.
McLaren might have the upper hand at the moment, but Ferrari's absolutely still in the fight. Leclerc's grid penalty definitely throws a wrench in things, but it also creates opportunities, for other drivers and teams to really make their mark on the race.
And like we've been saying, qualifying tomorrow is going to be absolutely crucial. Overtaking at Yas Marina is so tricky.
Yeah.
Securing a good starting position could very well be the difference between winning and losing. And then there's that midfield battle, which is going to be intense. Any little mistake, any unexpected incident could have huge consequences.
Definitely. And we can't forget about the emotional element too, right?
Yeah.
Sainz and Hamilton saying goodbye to their current teams. It's a reminder that Formula One isn't just about speed and technology. It's about the human stories, the passion that drives this sport.
It's going to be an emotional roller coaster, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So much at stake, so many storylines coming together. Okay, before we wrap things up, let's end on a thought-provoking note. What's the big question, the one that's going to keep everyone on the edge of their seats until that checkered flag drops?
Good question. For me, it all boils down to this. Can Ferrari defy the odds? Can they pull off a miracle comeback? Or will McLaren finally break their long championship drought and reclaim that top spot? Can Sainz deliver a fairy tale ending in his final race for Ferrari? Or will Norris and Piastri cement McLaren's return to glory?
And don't count Fernando Alonso out just yet.
Oh, yeah.
Can he overcome those car troubles and end the season with a bang? So many questions, so much anticipation. I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
It's going to be a race for the ages, that's for sure. And for anyone who wants to stay up to date with all the latest news and analysis, make sure you subscribe to the F1 Blog's YouTube channel. They've got in-depth coverage, expert insights, all the behind-the-scenes action from Abu Dhabi. You won't want to miss any of it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Friday's practice sessions. We'll be back soon to break down all the action from qualifying and the race. Until then, keep those engines revving.